A homemade doll belonging to your great-grandmother. A watch that belonged to your great-great-grandfather. Items like these can connect you with your ancestors. Historic artifacts provide a tangible link with our heritage. When artifacts can be combined with historic records, they increase our understanding of the past. I'm Nathan Gonzalez, historian and archivist at Smiley Library in Redlands, California, and I also work with several local heritage societies. As an historian, I work to understand our past by studying things like manuscripts, records, maps, newspapers, and photographs. To do this, I need to know where they came from and who created them. That is the provenance, or history, of who created and owned them. Without this, their historical value can be limited. When archaeologists study artifacts uncovered from places like mining camps, battlefields, abandoned buildings, or other archaeological sites, they need to know the context of where and how they were found. We call this provenience. That is, where they were found, how they were found, and what was found around them. Without knowing their provenience, they can be of limited historical value. When we know where an artifact was recovered using proper archaeological processes, it proves valuable for historical research.
The San Bernardino Pass is a major transportation corridor from the Mediterranean climate of the greater Los Angeles area and the desert climate of the Coachella Valley. The pass is the site of the Gilman Historic Ranch and Wagon Museum. It is unique in its ability to be able to tell the entire history of human habitation of the San Bernardino Pass area. We're able to tell that history with the objects that we have on display here at the Wagon Museum and throughout the site. But an object by itself isn't sufficient to tell the actual story of a place. Context is required. We're lucky that here at the Gilman Ranch, an archaeological excavation was conducted in the late 1980s, and it was able to uncover evidence of the indigenous peoples and the first built environment here in the pass area in the 1850s, the Pope adobe. The adobe was later used by the Gilman family as a stagecoach stop. The objects recovered during the excavation by themselves really aren't anything you need. Square nails, bits of rusted iron, remains of tobacco boxes, but by having their connection to the site itself, we're able to really tell the human side of the story. We see that the Pope adobe as a stagecoach stop wasn't just a place where horses were traded out and the stagecoach continued on its way. It was a place where people could buy medicine, a place where they could pick up a liquor bottle, places where they could advance a little bit more tobacco for their pouch. With these objects, we see a historic version of a modern-day convenience or travel store.
While many think archaeological research is done through excavation, there is much we can learn about archaeological heritage through what is right on the surface. This is especially true in our desert areas where artifacts can lie on the surface undisturbed for hundreds of years. It isn't just the artifacts that are important, it is where they're located in relationship to each other and to the archaeological features on the wider landscape. Surface finds can help to illustrate areas where people lived for short periods of time. An example is a series of archaeological sites recorded from surface signs that, when mapped out, displayed a trade route across the Mojave Desert that was established hundreds of years before European contact. This is a finding that wouldn't have been possible without the preservation and protection of artifacts just on the landscape. Another example of surface archaeology are the remains of the Desert Training Center, which was established in 1942 to train American troops covering hundreds of square miles. It allowed the training of large-scale combat formations. The training centers were originally established under the command of George S. Patton. Much of the evidence of this training is still scattered around the deserts in California, western Arizona, and southern Nevada. From features such as tank tracks to gun encampments and airfields and discarded artifacts, they are on the surface and are a fragile example of our history. Archaeologists study the relationship to other artifacts and features, and this can only be known when a full archaeological study takes place. Even then, most artifacts are not collected. Because of the rapid increase in technology, most sites are left with as little disturbance as possible. Who knows what advancements may allow future archaeologists to glean even more information from a previously studied site.
Preserving archaeological sites from a Native American cultural perspective is a crucial practice for honoring our heritage, our history, and our ancestors. Preserving sites also plays a crucial role in fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation of our ancestral lands. Archaeological sites, even isolated artifacts, are considered cultural resources. They witness the fact that our ancestors have lived here from time immemorial, and that we have a unique and inalienable relationship with the lands that Creator gave us. When considered individually, artifacts are significant to us as they were made by our ancestors. But to truly appreciate them, we must respect their place on the land, the context in which they were found. When you take artifacts away from the land, you lose the sense of connection between people, place, and things that all work together to tell a unified story. Treating natural and cultural resources with respect is a spiritually informed belief and culturally informed practice shared among many Native communities. If you are on a hike and find artifacts, the best thing to do is to pause, appreciate, and reflect on the indigenous history of the land, and then keep going. If you are worried that some harm might come to them, a good practice is to take a photo and show the pictures to a park ranger so that they might follow up in consultation with local tribes if needed.
Today's archaeology is a complex endeavor. Before an archaeologist ever picks up a trowel or collects an artifact, a considerable amount of research is conducted. Archaeologists need to investigate the known history, the natural environment, and other nearby archaeological resources, as well as relevant federal, state, and local laws and pertaining. After understanding the historical and environmental context for the site, a research plan is developed. If the project could involve material culture of Native people, a qualified monitor approved by the local tribal government are often part of the research team. The research plan may call for geophysical remote sensing. Data discovered from the site include soil and geology, as well as the context of where material cultural items and features that are found. Archaeology is not about what we find, it is about what we find out. It involves many skills and disciplines. After the data from the field work is completed, many hours of analysis are required. Some archaeologists specialize in specific periods, or things like as ceramics, stone tools, or in rock art. Historians and people from indigenous or descendant communities may also be part of the research team. Some artifacts may be sent out for radiometric dating, such as carbon-14. Written reports of the findings and analysis are then filed with the appropriate agency, such as the State Office of Historic Preservation, so they are available for future researchers and add to the knowledge for our collective past. Artifacts are curated for future study or turned over to an appropriate tribal government. Archaeological and cultural resources are protected by a professional code of conduct, as well as federal, state, and local laws and regulations.
There are many ways in which historical societies and individuals can learn about archaeology. There are opportunities to volunteer to help with archaeological research and preserve archaeological sites. The California Site Stewardship Program trains volunteers to protect archaeological sites and historic resources. With the Passport and Time program, volunteers take care of historic and archaeological properties. This program is supported by the U.S. Forest Service. Archaeological Conservancy works to preserve our archaeological heritage by purchasing land to protect valuable sites. Volunteers help maintain and interpret some of these sites. Many museums and heritage sites utilize volunteers to protect, preserve, and interpret archaeological resources. There are local archaeological organizations and 10 local societies of the Archaeological Institute of America in California.
Thank you for helping to preserve and share the human past and your commitment to protecting for the future. The Society for California Archaeology is a nonprofit scientific and educational organization dedicated to research, understanding, interpretation, and conservation of the heritage of California and the regions which surround it. Please visit our website,